Alright, can you guys hear me? Testing 1, 2. Doesn't look like we dropped too many frames, so I think we're in good shape. Hope everyone is doing alright. Quick test. Can anybody hear me? It looks like we're good. Alright guys, here we go again. After what seems like eternal slumber from the tropics, we're now staring down yet another hurricane landfall at this point. This time, wow, tracks really started to jog off to these from this last update now. Whereas before we were looking more towards like maybe Galveston and Houston, we've now shifted pretty much all the way over to New Orleans and Baton Rouge. Just so shows how dramatic the change can be here in regards to forecasting a hurricane's projected path with the center of circulation. Obviously the impacts are going to be spreading much wider than that. So we're going to go over what we can right now. We'll talk a little bit more about it again tomorrow morning, and then we'll of course be streaming tomorrow afternoon when landfall is occurring. But one thing that I would definitely appreciate that any of you watching would do is to hit that subscribe button and also hit that share button. It's going to be really important in the next couple of days in regards to trying to get out to as many people as we can. Try to help keep people ahead of the storm here. This is expected to remain a Category 1 hurricane. This just got upgraded off of this exact advisory that we started streaming on. But I don't expect this to go too crazy here. I think it's going to be a high-end Category 1. I still think there's a slight chance this goes up to Cat 2, but nothing beyond that there. Of course, my computer wants to show the upgrade. The updates on. We'll try to keep this stream brief in case this thing tries to sneak up and crash on me. But what we're seeing right now, this is Francine. Not the most impressive looking hurricane on satellite imagery, but still very much a dangerous Category 1. Of course, as we mentioned before, this is expected to strengthen all the way up to a 90 mile per hour Cat 1 hurricane here. We're going to have some other images from the satellite, and we'll get a better look at it from that vantage point here. Kind of in an awkward spot because the sun is just now setting over the region where Francine is. So as a result, it's going to be a little tricky trying to get the true color imagery. So we're probably going to end up sticking with this for the most part. But let me go ahead and get a couple other things set up real quick with this before we move forward here. All right. Alright, so I forgot how I had this set up. Keep on having to adjust as we go here, but should be able. Should be able to get this fixed up here really quickly. Also, I'm gonna go ahead and probably get some additional music on here right now. A little disorganized. It's been a while since I've been streaming, so I've run out of practice, I'm not gonna lie. This is also a cover I'm about to put on YouTube in hopefully the next month. Oh yeah, it is loud. Sorry about that, you guys. Alright, that should be better, I hope. Stop streaming for a few weeks, it's like you forget how to do everything. Hang on. Here we go. Alright, so the main things that we're going to be concerned with when it comes to Francine, of course, is going to be storm surge, severe weather, of course, and also high winds. So I'm trying to still adjust this thing. Oh, of course, rainfall as well. Well, I guess we'll just start out with the warnings here. Need to take this like one step at a time here. I feel like I'm kind of rushing the process. Alright, so hurricane warnings are now in effect for the central and eastern parts of the Louisiana coast here. We might even see the hurricane warnings stretch all the way up into New Orleans at this point. We're like right on the edge right now. We might actually have those still. But tropical storm warnings there nonetheless. Hurricane watches are in effect all around Lake Pontchartrain as well. But current storm speed is at, or storm motion is to the northeast at 10 miles an hour. We expect this to make landfall Wednesday afternoon, probably somewhere around 2 to 3 Eastern time, or maybe Central time, I'd say. So we'll be home in time to cover that unless something ridiculous happens. So let's go ahead and take a look at what our peak surge is looking like. Right now we're expecting about 5 to 10 feet in storm surge. Hardest hit areas might be over towards Vermilion Bay, the Rockefeller Wildlife Refuge, and then the 4 to 7 storm surge here between Port Fortune and the Mississippi River mouth right there. We're gonna have to keep an eye on. Yeah, I know what you mean, Torex. I hope you can make it. I mean, it's no big deal if you can't. You might be might just be available as it's happening. It really just depends on the forward speed of the storm at this point. But some other areas we'll have to watch, of course, for storm surge. While not quite as significant as other areas, I would say, of course, Mobile Bay, Mississippi-Alabama border, Florida-Alabama border, Pointe de la Hatch, Lake Pontchartrain. It's about 3 to 5 feet in surge. Then, of course, over towards Sabine Pass, Rockefeller, we'll have to watch. I think you'll make it. It'll be close, but I think you'll make it. Well, either way, there's no pressure. I know you want to be here for it, though, so. But yeah, just know at least on this end, there's no pressure. Let's go ahead and look at inundation, because this is probably going to be one of the bigger concerns that I think a lot of people will have, and really at this point, rightfully so. Right now, inundation doesn't look horrible at the moment. There are a few areas where we're getting into the green and red, which is where we're getting above 6 feet or more above ground. And then there's a lot of levee areas that we'll have to keep an eye on as well. Really should be thankful that this storm didn't strengthen much faster than it already had, than what it has, you know. At one point, we were thinking that a Category 2 or even stronger is possible. Not to say that that's out of reach, but with the storm's forward speed right now, along with the rate in which it's strengthening, because it's been struggling with wind shear for a while now. It still is, actually. I can't really show the full picture. And also there is a little bit of dry air on really the west and east sides of it. And there will even be some to the south. Yeah, but shear's been the primary problem with this, though. But our areas of interest in regards to levee systems, I wouldn't expect too much to come of that. I wouldn't expect any failures or anything of the like right now. I know that's always a concern due to prior history. Let's not even get into that. Any case, though, let's go ahead and also take a look at wind speed probabilities right now. Tropical storm force winds are going to be pretty widespread, I would say. Hurricane force winds will eventually start to come in more as the storm begins to strengthen. Like I said, still expecting a high-end category 1, so we're going to see an increase in that hurricane wind field, but it's not going to be incredibly widespread as far as those impacts are concerned. But as you can see here, the probabilities are very high as we head into Sunday here at this point. It's going to even spread pretty far into Mississippi at this point. But at this point, though, we'll go up to the 50 knot wind speed. So this is getting close to like 60 miles an hour at this point. Or pretty much severe thunderstorm gusts, you would say at this point. Right now, the probabilities aren't quite as high. You're going to see those eventually go up as we get further along into the progression of the storm. Right now, there's not much in the way of 90% or above probabilities. But again, towards where the center circulation is where those are going to be highest. I do think this will still span into parts of Mississippi here. And again, as I mentioned before, with hurricane force probabilities, of course, I think where we end up having landfall is where the probabilities will be highest. Of course, Baton Rouge, maybe New Orleans as well. Confidence isn't quite as high yet because, again, as we mentioned before, the surface wind area of the hurricane force winds is very small, and it'll probably remain that way for the most part. If this hurricane was able to get stronger, like much stronger, then we'd probably see that wind field start to spread a bit more. But I think the calling card of this hurricane might very well be the rainfall and flash flooding. As you can see here, of course, where we're anticipating the landfall over towards Lake Charles, we're going to have potentially up to about 8 to maybe even 12 inches of rain possible. And then as we continue to move further up, we could probably see a good 4 to 6 inches pretty easily, all the way up into Tennessee. So let's go ahead and also take a look at what our flash flooding potential might be over the next 5 days. Not a surprise to see this moderate risk here for flash flooding. We may see this actually get upgraded to high. Depends on what the storm's forward speed is. It's moving a little faster than what I was expecting, to be honest. 10 miles an hour forward speed is not bad for a hurricane. It's not particularly fast though either. But honestly, I was anticipating it being even slower though. So there's some good news to be had there. Now, another thing we can go and take a look at, of course, would be the arrival time of tropical storm force winds. We can probably start to see impacts, I would say, as early as Wednesday morning, probably right around the time people will be getting up for work. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. This is really the time to prepare now. This is really your last chance to prepare, because once this started to get formed here over in the Gulf of Mexico, the concern was really going to be how much time people would have and if anyone would prepare quickly enough for this. Haven't seen or heard too much about preparation already, but now that this is a hurricane, time's pretty much up. Hate to say it, but yeah, hopefully if you are in the area here, whether it's over towards Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Slidell, Gulfport here, you've done what you're supposed to do, because like I said, really at this point, time's up. It's going to be on. You're already going to start to deal those tropical storm force winds. By then, it's already too late. Well, you got what you got at this point. So, one other thing we're going to look at here, and we haven't had a chance to really get a good look at this yet, and that's going to be the tornado threat. The thing with systems like these is that these often will have a sneaky little tropical tornado threat. And one thing that's pretty well etched into my memory is the tornado production from Hurricane Beryl. Beryl was quite a prolific tornado producer and produced pretty strong tornadoes at that, which isn't very common for a tropical system either. So it's something we have to be very, very watchful of. So we're going to be kind of making our own forecast here basically off of this alone. So hopefully we can do all that we can get a good read as to what to expect there. There is a slight risk issue tomorrow for said tornado threat here, with a 5% area stretching all the way from Baton Rouge all the way over towards the Florida Panhandle. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick look at some forecast models and kind of just run along from there. So mainly just going to kind of hang around on the short range models particularly. So let me see if try to get that fixed up. I don't know why it always boots me out. I'm probably going to have to go all the way back to 18Z to get a good look at some of the environment. Okay. So we'll get up close and personal here. We're going to be, of course, looking towards the Gulf Coast. So not the greatest vantage point to start out with. But there's a couple of different levels of the atmosphere I'm going to be looking at. Of course, looking at the low-level jet at 850 is always a key component with tornado genesis. So here's our storm coming in. So this is Francine. We always look for that right front quadrant. I think that's where our tornado threat's going to be greatest in this case, just like many other cases. So looking at HRRR, I'm thinking just off of just to the east of New Orleans, I think, and then maybe even New Orleans proper itself might be an area of interest there. Really strong low-level winds there. Looking at the mid-level winds is going to be also pretty interesting as well. Considering the fact that we're looking at a tropical system making landfall, I wouldn't be too worried about any other parameters outside of instability itself. Instability can always vary with these systems, but as far as the wind profile is concerned, we're looking pretty good. What I'm really trying to look for is any sort of potential trough, and also I want to be able to see just how much instability there is in the atmosphere. Because the unique thing with Hurricane Beryl was the fact that we ended up having Cape values of about 2,000, some places even 3,000 joules per kilogram. It was almost like a regular summertime day in regards to instability being concerned, as far as instability was concerned. Right now, I don't really see anything in particular that's pointing at a trough. This might be a point of interest, but it's not anything that necessarily catches my eye right now. At least not in the short term, but still going to be keeping an eye on that. I do think parameters are still sufficient enough for a few tornadoes. Don't expect an outbreak from this currently, though. So we need to look at surface-based Cape, and I think that's going to be pretty telling as to what lies ahead here. Let that keep loading. Yeah, it looks like instability still stays pretty limited, thankfully. So I'm not too concerned right now. Maybe a little further off towards, I would say maybe Mississippi might be a point of interest after it goes inland a little bit further. But Of course, as we know, this can easily uptrend or downtrend pretty quickly. But it doesn't look like we have a lot of instability to work with, so that should keep the threat down to an extent. Like I said, I'm not expecting a full-on tornado outbreak from this. Kinematically, though, it does look pretty solid, I would say. Look at a couple other parameters like the energy helicity index, and we'll kind of go on from there. If you have any questions, of course, feel free to ask me in chat. It doesn't look like we have a whole lot of energy available with this. Like I said, I really think it's going to be more so over here towards Louisiana and areas to the east. Oh, wow. So here's an area where we have decent instability, and this is what I was concerned about. This isn't necessarily something to be frightened by, but we do have a particularly dangerous tornado sounding here. So, I mean, like I said, it's definitely worth watching, and this is a big reason why we'll be live tomorrow, regardless of whether we catch the landfall or not. Don't worry, Torex, it's not too much to be frightened by, but it's definitely something that we're going to pay close attention to. One thing that definitely catches my eye with this sounding, though, of course, is the 0 to 3 loop here. It's basically this red line right here. This is us basically being able to look at the atmosphere, look at wind direction and wind speed at this point. And as we looked at the low-level jet and mid-level jet, at this point, as this is coming in, winds are very strong. So this does not surprise me too much. I didn't think we would have a sounding that's this aggressive, but it does make sense if you really think about it. There's some really strong shear here. I wish my buddy Kyle here. I wish my buddy Kyle was here so we could get some input on that. I'm looking forward to showing him this sounding because he's going to probably flip out seeing this. There is some potential for some supercells, though, based off of the shear parameters here. So, like I said, while I wouldn't say that we're expecting an outbreak, there could be a few tornadoes, and there is a chance for a strong one. Let's just be honest here. Of course, other parameters such as hail or anything of the like, wouldn't be too concerned about that right now. But any tornadoes that do form are most likely going to be high precipitation, and for the most part, probably going to be pretty fast moving, I would say, at this point, just based off of the parameters here. Low-level jet is always a telling sign of the storm's forward speed, but anything that will be coming in, of course, will be probably moving in a northwest direction, maybe, or west-northwest direction even. So any supercells that are on the far right quadrant here, that will be over towards like maybe Baton Rouge, Slidell, definitely need to keep an extra close eye on those. So they're going to be coming in from an odd direction at this point here. Oh, I shouldn't have got rid of that just yet. Let's see if I can find it again. Yeah, here we go. I'm gonna save that so that way I can send it, put it in my Discord. Also, by the way, we do have a Discord server, so definitely feel free to join that. All you got to do is hit !point Discord in our chat, and you'll be able to find that. Or I'll have that put up, and then I'll just have the link to the server pinned up here. There you go, Torex. Okay, so you might actually be able to pin it. You should be able to. Alright, so look at least one more combination plot, and then we'll start looking at some rainfall forecast. We'll look at the QPF, and probably, I guess, call it a stream after that. In any case, though, let's go ahead and look at our combination plot here. This is looking at both instability and the wind profile. Just kind of get an idea where everything kind of mixes together. Nope. Okay. Alright, there we go. It's pinned. I also would expect a lot of water spouts here. Yeah, these looping hodographs here are looking pretty gnarly though. I would also be really leery of maybe Biloxi as well as we get later into the evening. Looks like there's a lot of surface cape right here. Definitely would call it a water spout outbreak. Hey, Torex. Yeah, like I said, it's a pretty good environment though. Definitely a good environment for a few tropical tornadoes here. And it looks like that environment kind of lingers off to the east. Yeah, the hodographs are aggressive, but I mean, if you looked at the 850 though, I mean, yeah, if you look at the 850 though, like we did earlier, it didn't surprise me all that much to see it. Alright, so let's go ahead and look at, I guess, simulated radar. I think we're actually going to go ahead and look at simulated radar, and then we're going to look at the QPF, which is basically like our rainfall rates and rainfall estimates. Of course, this is going to vary a little bit. So we're going to be seeing an increase in shower and storm activity overnight tonight over the area of interest, of course. And then, of course, as the storm comes in, probably going to be, I would say it looks like 4 o'clock my time, so maybe 3 o'clock central. So like I said, it's going to be cutting it really close for your area, Torex. But looks like peak time will be about 4 or 5 o'clock Eastern, so 4 o'clock Central. I think the tornado threat's going to be highest just before 7 o'clock Central, or 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern. And then as we see this push out, we'll see this push up to the north, and we'll start to see more rain bands kind of pushing out to the east here. Thankfully, it looks like most of the moisture is going to stay to the north here. I'm not entirely sure what the tornado threat's going to look like over the next couple of days after that. It does look like a lot of widespread rain for the northern peninsula of Florida, southern Georgia, maybe even interior Georgia here. Showers look like they're going to be kind of intermittent though at this point. So totals that are further off to the east might not be all that impressive, but then again, these are tropical showers, so I think rainfall estimates may easily vary. Okay, so I have some pretty aggressive totals here from the looks of it. Right over towards Baton Rouge, Louisiana, about 10 to 12 inches are actually possible according to HRRR here. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to do a model comparison loop and see what all of the latest runs are looking like right now. Yeah, some pretty aggressive totals over here. Even as we get close towards the Biloxi and Mobile areas here, we could easily get up to a good 6 to 8 inches without much issue here. Over towards inland Mississippi, we could easily get up to about 6, 7, maybe even 8 inches possibly there. And like I said, rainfall totals may vary a little bit. If we go to another model here, we have pretty good model agreement here with the HRW, the FB3 model. Icon's a little bit more stingy with the rainfall here, but even so, still possibly up to a foot in some places there. The damn 3 kilometer is not quite as impressive with that there. Most reasonable model, and the model I prefer to use the most when it comes to looking at rainfall totals and also snowfall totals, because, you know, winter's right around the corner, is the National Weather Service blend of models. It gets it gives us kind of a happy medium of everything. You easily see about 9 to 10 inches. Foot is a little bit aggressive, but remember, these are tropical downpours. Again, like we mentioned before, like I said, not much rainfall the further out to the east we go, mainly over towards that northern Florida peninsula region. Maybe we could get up to about an inch, maybe 2 inches here, especially with some of that onshore flow allows for additional storm development to commence there. For the most part, we've got pretty good model agreement here. The Euro is actually the most aggressive inland, maybe outside HRRR. No, actually, it's the GFS. I take that back. Up to about a foot possible there. And outside of that, yeah. Guess that's really all we got there. In any case, though, appreciate everyone that's tuned into the stream. If you got any questions, I'll hang around for a little bit. If not, we'll call it a stream in the next couple of minutes. Run a little bit of sound for you guys real quick, and we'll kind of just go from there. Especially if you're in the area of interest from Baton Rouge, New Orleans in particular. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to shoot there. In any case, though, switch back over to the radar here, so we can actually get a look at what's going on right now. Yeah, I'm watching it on the screen. I have a little screen where I can look at the analytics. I try not to read into it too much. I think if we have chatters, it'll probably be tomorrow. That's usually how it goes. In any case, though, anyone that does want to chat, feel free. I don't bite. But go ahead and maybe run 1 or 2 songs here for you. Or maybe I'll just play my own for right now, at least. There's a couple of things I'm going to also be kind of peering at while I'm sitting here for the last couple minutes. And then we'll, like I said, we'll go on from that point. There might be one other thing I could show you guys real quick. Also, if you know anyone that's into metal, definitely share the channel with them as well. I'm pretty sure this would be an interesting blend for them. Especially if they're into melodic death metal. By the way, this song's mine. This is something I wrote and recorded. It's The Clouds Draw Near. This is the channel theme, by the way. There will be, by the way, Torex, there's more I'm working on behind this too. I actually was working on it a little bit this last weekend. So hopefully we can get more songs going so that we don't have to worry about copyright as much. Look at the dry air across the region. Yep, just as we predicted, dry air on both sides. So there's not a lot of lightning actually coming from Francine right now, which is a bit surprising too. Oh, and we're struggling with our frames again. Alright guys, if you don't have any questions, I'm going to call it a night, and I'll see you guys in the morning. I'll probably actually drop a short tonight as well. Just kind of giving a quick rundown of what we talked about here tonight. And then we'll do one more update, and we'll be setting up to go live. But either way, thanks for tuning in, you guys. Hope to see you again tomorrow. Hope everyone stays safe. Until next time, signing off.